that money we have to make our communities better is going into terror operations so we can have some kind of public show of force that the government is protecting us from a threat that doesn't exist.
Luis Robledo is a senior organizer for Jobs to Move America's Southern team, and he is right now in Georgia supporting response efforts, community response efforts to the recent ICE raid at a Hyundai facility in Savannah, Georgia. And, you know, I was reading a little bit about it this morning. I had seen the headlines throughout the week, and, you know, I hadn't been able to take the time to read an article about it, but I did this morning, and I was surprised to see that it seems that the bulk of the people who were caught up in this raid were not Mexican or Hispanic or, you know, Latino. They were South Korean. So can you talk to us about the raid and like the people that were targeted and just kind of the facts of what we know now?
That's right, Jacob, and thanks. Hello to all my comrades listening out there, all the workers in the South. We are here in Savannah, Georgia, specifically the Elabel Meta plant run by Hyundai. So on the ground, what we know is that there have been approximately 475 workers from this truly enormous manufacturing facility detained. We know that the majority of them were from Korea, were folks that were both in production as workers and also management. A lot of managers were swept up by this raid. We have reports of folks with temporary protected status that have asylum cases, that have all different types of statuses. And the important part that we need to remember is all of these folks were at work producing vehicles for one of the largest companies on the face of the earth. They are producing wealth and they're producing products that is enriching an ever-growing ruling class in the United States. So this comes at the heels of a very large meeting between the Korean government and the current administration. And we know that when these types of raids happen, they're connected to everything that's going on in the world and they're directly connected to the material conditions of our community. So folks here are definitely truly shocked by these raids. Families have gone without their loved ones. We know that there were children at some point that were not picked up from daycare. We knew people that were in hiding, that were escaping from from these thugs that were out to kidnap them. And it's really created a sense of sadness from the people of Savannah. So those of us that are here are taking calls from those that are affected and are meeting with them in community and trying to connect them with all of the available resources that can be provided to them as soon as possible. So we know that the majority of those folks have been taken to the Folkston Detention Center, which is about 2 hours south. Many of these folks that have been kidnapped do not yet have communication with their families, and folks are really desperate to hear from their loved ones and to hear kind of what's going to come of their each individual cases. We don't know at this time if Hyundai or the other facilities were cooperating with ICE.
It's worth pointing out that even though we're in the very, very early stages of like stuff coming out, understanding, the fog of war clearing, understanding the facts on the ground, even though we're in the very early stage of this, Stephen Schrank, a special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations for Georgia, is reported by the New York Times as having admitted that there were U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents who were, among the people kidnapped, and that, at least the ones that he knows of that were U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, have been released. Who knows how many of the ones that remain in custody are U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents. There was an immigration attorney who was who was quoted in the New York Times as also saying that many of the people understood themselves to be following the law. So here's Charles Cuck, an immigration lawyer in Atlanta, said 2 of his clients who were in the country under a visa waiver program that enables them to travel for tourism or business for stays of 90 days or less without obtaining a visa were caught up in the raid. And this is a quote from him. My clients were doing exactly what they were allowed to do under the visa waiver, attend business meetings, noting that one of them had just arrived on Tuesday and was scheduled to leave next week. And so, this is just a really sort of perplexing thing that's happening here. Do we have any idea at all why this raid was carried out?
That we know of, the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement says they're claiming that they're here to protect public safety. The existing warrant names a few individuals that they were looking for, as well as investigating some sort of illicit activity. That warrant is made public and available. And what you'll notice from the warrant is that it does not say that they have a warrant to search the entire premises and to detain people that are either undocumented or mixed status, or just folks that are working in a factory producing American goods. This is nothing but a thuggish attempt to scare immigrants and migrants in our community. It's really, truly preposterous that people that are here on any kind of status are taken away from the production line when they're folks that are creating value for American communities. These are people that pay taxes. These are people that go to church. These are people that have families. Everything that you can imagine that is an American are the people that were detained in this raid. So, I mean, we're hearing stories of folks like having their phones taken away from each other. There was tear gas. There were heavily armed vehicles, including machine guns. I mean, there were 2 helicopters in the sky, drones, ATVs, military-style vehicles. Guys, this is a siege of the American workforce. This is like the military coming to your workplace and just deciding that they're invading, right? It's an extension of this American-style militarism and, heavy-handed use of force in our communities. It's truly astonishing the level of force that was used during this raid.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, I think that most people have seen videos of ICE at this point, just kidnapping women on the street in plain clothes with assault rifles and masks. I mean, it's really got to be, if you have any sort of pride, I'm gonna, maybe there's a little bit of like toxic masculinity here coming from me, but like, if you have any sort of pride as a man, these people must be embarrassed of like going up and kidnapping, just the not talking about the raid that happened last week in Georgia, but just the general prospect of like kidnapping women and grandmothers while you're masked up and have, armed to the teeth and have bulletproof vests on. I mean, it's got to be like sort of emasculating to do that. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, Truly, I think these folks that are in ICE, that are working for Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, that are working for Border Patrol, that are in this cash grab to get all these bonuses to round up my community and the people that are just here to make a living and provide for their families. Those are class traitors. Those people betray our community and betray the oath that they took the United States to protect and serve. That's not protecting and serving when you're kidnapping people that are making the fog lights or that are making, the chassis to build your car. No one in America is in danger from production line workers at these mega factories. It's not real. It's all invented. And so it's our duty to remember that um, the human cost on our families and on the community is so incredibly high, while ICE and the people that run the government continue to fund these operations at the for-profit prison industrial complex, Core Civic, and Geo Group that are being funded into the billions and billions of dollars. We know Alabama is losing its health care, Georgia's losing its health care, Florida's losing its health care. Our rights are being trampled on, and all that money that we have for benefits to make our communities better is going into into terror operations,
Right.
so that we can have some kind of public show of force that the government is somehow protecting us from a threat that doesn't exist.
Hey, 5 seconds, just wanted to say that this is only possible because of our donors. If you want to see more of this, then consider donating yourself at tvlr.fm/donate.
Yeah, there was this let's see. There was just speaking of like the really fascistic nature of some of these folks who are going to be taking this offer to work at ICE. There was a former MMA fighter, Aaron Ely, 36, who once fought under the ring name The Cyborg. He was at the Washington Post found him at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Expo last week. And he was quoted in the Washington Post as saying, "I keep seeing these memes where Indians are bragging about taking our tech jobs. So I said, oh yeah, well, I'm going to work with these guys that are going to arrest you, slam your face on the pavement, and send you home." And like, so these are the folks that are like working for ICE at this point. If there was ever a point where there were people who worked at ICE who were like normal and just like, oh, I just respect the law and I want people to follow the law. Those folks are gone, right? So, and so one of the things that was going around that I saw in the immediate aftermath of this, as I think most people, at least, I thought that this was kind of a normal immigration raid, maybe along the lines of what we saw in Mississippi in like 2019, where they were just targeting, production workers and harassing Hispanic production workers. And so one of my questions was going to be, are Hyundai managers and executives among those that we can expect to see legal repercussions, because that almost never happens. But in this case, are we, do we have reason to believe that like the administration is for some reason actually targeting Hyundai executives because of some scheme that they think Hyundai has?
In my lifetime, I have never seen a boss go to jail for abusing workers at a factory. So I have no expectation to trust the federal government to do right by American and migrant workers. I know for a fact that this is all manufactured. This is all fake to draw a straw man and pit migrants against each other so that workers are divided. It's a division tactic as old as time. Blame some of the workers at the facility for the problems, and then get rid of them, deport them, fire them, and that's it. And the boss is in control of the facility again. In this case, we even saw middle managers with H-2B visas, folks that, might have paid money from an agency to come here. We've seen people with all sorts of immigration status from Korea and that are Spanish speaking that have had contact with ICE that they didn't have to have contact with in the first place. It truly is like mind boggling that they would go to this lengths just
Right.
to meet a quota of people that they're supposed to detain. I have personally spoken to the families of folks that have people in Folsom Detention Center, and they're incredibly distraught. They're saying exactly
Mm,
what you mentioned. We did everything right. We
right.
have asylum. We are following instructions of the government. We have never committed injury to anyone. Why are we being detained?
The Georgia AFL-CIO, the state's largest labor federation, responded to the raid saying, "This raid is the latest in an ongoing campaign of harassment that has targeted immigrant Georgians as they try to earn an honest living. Arresting and detaining workers who are exploited every day and risk their lives every day on the job creates an atmosphere of fear that terrorizes workers and their families and increases the workload burden on their co-workers. And when multiple workers have died during the construction of this very plant, the only federal action that could possibly be justified is to strengthen enforcement of occupational safety and health protections and other labor rights, a far cry from ICE raids. We stand with every worker who has been targeted by these politically motivated raids. Our movement will do everything we can to support all working families. That's what solidarity looks like. It cannot be broken. Workers in our state will not be pitted against each other." That's again from the Georgia AFL-CIO president, Yvonne Brooks. Have we seen any other response from the unions that you've been able to see?
Yes.
There have been some calls from some of sister unions in the area, but I have to tell you the truth. I think the response is still lacking. I want to call in all the brothers and sisters that are in a union, that are members of a fraternity of people that seek to defend the rights of workers and their own rights, to really start calling this out, calling this for what it is. It's an attack on the working class. It's an attack on our jobs, and it's an attack on the American way of life. The claim that was made by which the search warrant and the purpose of the investigation was purportedly by the government to protect workers because they were, quote, exploited or underpaid, or there were injuries, what have you. Well, the response to an injury, the response to poor working conditions, the response to slave wages, the response to these types of abuses is not an ICE raid.
Right.
It's a union.
Right.
Right? It's a union, and it's protections, and it's accountability, and it's putting bosses in prison when people die at factories. That's the response. But instead, you have these absurd militaristic shows of force in order to capture a few working class people in order to pit us against each other. It truly is baffling, the situation that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, I mean, you have this the right-wing nativist sort of stuff about immigration, and they've got this whole Rube Goldberg mechanism where they say, oh, well, if we inflict some amount of pain on immigrants and get them out of here or whatever, we do this, that, and the third, then maybe, the market will increase wages for native-born workers, and then maybe native-born workers will have a little bit more bargaining power and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, if you're actually concerned about wages, if you're actually concerned about safety and ending exploitation, you can just kind of do away with the whole Rube Goldberg stuff about like harassing immigrants to bring up native born workers' wages. You can just raise the minimum wage. You can just institute prevailing wages on construction and manufacturing projects. You can just increase safety protections. You can just increase, there's so many things that you can do to just you say that you want people who work in Georgia to make higher wages. Just do a law about it. Instead of it's just so frustrating to me to see people that I think there are some people that earnestly fall for this, and they think that the Rube Goldberg thing is the only way that you can increase wages for native-born Americans. And it's like you could just do like a straight line thing. And then the great thing about that is that you don't have to throw other people in cages to accomplish the goal of raising wages. I mean, it's really a win-win sort of thing. And it's frustrating to see, some earnest people fall for this stuff. And then obviously some less than earnest people, using the wages as a justification to harass brown people, which is, what a lot of the Stephen Miller types are doing. And
I
so
mean,
I
truly,
guess,
this is really about
yeah.
pitting immigrants against each other and
Mhm.
convincing people that they don't belong and that they're not American and that there's not a place for them in the wealthiest country in the history of humankind. There is enough resources ad infinitum in the US for everybody, and there's jobs enough for everybody. But it truly is these fascistic, you know, oligarchic, massive corporations that are working with the government to, subjugate us in every conceivable way, and then convince us that we're the problem to begin with.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, Luis Robledo, senior organizer for Jobs to Move America's Southern team. What's next?
So right now we are on the ground with Migrant Equity Southeast. They are the local organization replying to this humanitarian disaster. And I would encourage your listeners and encourage the unions and anyone out there that has love and support for working people and migrant people to donate to the fundraiser so that we can provide legal services, food, and any other type of support to families that have been affected by this kidnapping. It takes a lot of money to support folks to get them out of the cages that they've been put in. So check out the Facebook page for Migrant Equity Southeast, and there will be a press conference on Monday at 11 a.m. that we're inviting everybody to tune into, where you're going to hear directly from the organizations that have been supporting migrants so that we can dispel some of the misinformation and lies that have been told about this community. So that's 11 a.m. Eastern time on Monday.
All right. Luis Robledo, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, friends. Take care.
Yep. All right, folks. There you go. Luis Robledo, senior organizer for Jobs to Move America's Southern team on the ground responding to the ICE raids in Georgia. We'll keep an eye on that and maybe be able to give you an update next week. I don't know if there's anything else that you had to say about that.
It's fucking gross.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say than that. It's terrible. And I think Luis is right. It's just ways to try to divide working people. The vast majority of us have more in common, no matter where we come from, what kind of language we speak. The vast majority of us don't own anything, just our labor, and that's how we provide for our families. And when we come together and unite around those common interests, that's when we'll be able to push back on this kind of nonsense.
Yep. So let's go ahead and bring the caller on the line. I'm not in there, so I don't see the area code. 714 area code. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Comrades, buenos dias, buenas tardes, revolutionary greetings. This is Comrade Jose Francisco Negrete from Teamster Local 952, rank and file, also part of Teamster Mobilize, part of Labor for Palestine, LA, OCIE, part of the boycott, Home Depot boycott coalition. Sometimes it's a tongue twister. Just listening to Comrade Luis speak, he said that he was talking about how he finds it astonishing of what happened in Georgia. People got to wake up. LA was the test ground for what this administration wants to do with the highly militarized occupation, whether it's in D.C., supposedly it's going to go to Chicago. They're fencing up the federal building as they have in the detention center in downtown LA, because we have some strong comrades out here that are out there 24/7, 7 days a week, protesting that detention center and those illegal kidnappings that's been happening in the streets, whether if it's in Los Angeles, Orange County, the Inland Empire, San Bernardino, Oxnard. We've seen this. Labor needs to wake the fuck up. I don't give a fuck if you're an AFL-CIO, SEIU, the Teamsters, UAW. We need to wake up. This isn't an attack on labor. Well, I don't care if these workers are undocumented or not. They're part of the working class, and we need to understand that. And we need to start waking up, because if they could go after them, who's to say they can't go after us? We know the NLRB right now is handcuffed. They can't do shit. They cannot do nothing. So if we don't act now, this is going to be they're going to go into any community. Right now, you could tell what happened in Georgia. 400 workers out there in the Hyundai industry and the cannabis plant. I think it was in the Oxnard when they did that raid. But then the community stood up. It's time that communities of good conscience stands up to this administration, because this is not right. And the falsehood that if we take these undocumented workers out of jobs, out of the economy, that corporations are going to hire Americans and pay a living wage. That is false. That oh my God, what are we thinking about? I hear my general president on the free press. That's a whole different story for a whole different day. But we need to start waking up. All of us need to start waking up. I don't care if you're in the South. I don't care if you're in the Northeast. I don't care if you're in the Rust Belt states. I don't care if you're in Oklahoma, Missouri, the Pacific Northwest. We need to start waking up. We need to start waking up. Thank you, comrades, for having Comrade Lewis on and discussing what happened over there in Hyundai. But this is going to be the norm in 4 years. We cannot normalize this and just say, oh, it's not me, because eventually it might be you.
Right.
It might be me. So we need to wake the fuck up. Thank you so much, and I hope comrades have a great weekend.
Yep. Thanks, Jose. Appreciate it. Totally agree.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.